All right, we are here with Coach Coop. It's Miami Hate Week. It's FSU Hate Week on the other side. And Coach Coop, let's talk about this. The mood at the Canes fan base is a little bit subdued. I'm not talking smack yet, but it does feel like it's a little bit subdued. It feels like they're not as into it as other years. And I get it. I understand the last few weeks. But what are your thoughts, man?
It's tough. I will say, Florida State fans, please bring it on. As Miami fans, we do still like to run our mouths from time to time. You know, that's what we're all about. And honestly, mostly Miami fans are just disappointed because we want to be able to talk trash in this game. We want it to mean something. You know, we love the back and forth. This is one of the best rivalries in college football. But again, you know, Miami fans kind of riding that high at the beginning of the season, starting 4-0, and then got into ACC play, and things have started to fall apart a bit for us. So Miami fans obviously not super confident going into this one, but we're still going to talk a little trash.
It does feel like early in the year, I think you maybe had some FSU fans worried. Tyler goes out and throws 1,000,000 yards against A&M, beats that. I mean, nobody thought A&M was great, but like still beat the heck out of an SEC team. He looked incredible. And then, yeah, he kind of last few weeks has fallen off some. Do you feel like that maybe takes a little bit of pressure off of the team and maybe lets them play a little looser when they go out? Yeah, I mean, there's always pressure in the rivalry game, but maybe that works to Miami's advantage a little bit that nobody thinks they have a chance.
I actually kind of think it does to an extent. I talked in my preview video about there being some weight and some pressure on Florida State to remain undefeated. I mean, you guys are pushing for the college football playoffs, right? You've already secured a spot in the ACC championship game. Miami has none of that on the table. As much as we would like to be in that position, the reality is we're not. So this team can kind of come out, play free. Hopefully the coaching staff will be a little more creative going into this one, and the players can just go out, kind of have some fun. And as you said, when you're expected to lose, I mean, you know, the worst case scenario, what, you come out and you lose. Everybody
Yeah.
thought you were going to lose. But if we come out and we win, that could really hurt Florida State with what your goals are now at the end of the season. So I do think that it kind of helps Miami. Of course, though, we would rather be in the other position.
Sure. Yeah, playing spoiler is kind of like I don't know. It's a pretty dim silver lining at the
Yeah,
end of the
exactly.
day. You mentioned the rivalry, the history. I'm a big fan of the history. What do you have a favorite memory or two from the rivalry?
For me personally, there are obviously much better things I could point to, bigger and better and crazier games. But for me, it had to be the 2018 matchup at Hard Rock, and that's because I was there for that
Yeah.
game, the comeback. That was the one where I went to go get some food and some drinks at halftime, and Miami fans were ready to leave. Like, we were down, and we were down bad. And that's the game where they brought in N'Kosi Perry, and we had a bunch of turnovers in the second half, and we just took over that ball game.
Yeah.
So it might be a little bit of a selfish reason to say it, but to be there in person and to witness that comeback under Mark Richt, I mean, that game really stood out to me and was a good time. Plus, the entire game, I had a drunk Florida State fan behind me, and every time I would record, he knew who I was, so he would flip off the camera. And right at the end, when Miami got that, they were on that last drive, I went to record and I looked, and he was gone. So good memories.
We're still bitter about the double pass call, but mine's kind of the same as yours. Like, you know, we make a lot of jokes about 4th and 14, but being there for that game and what Florida State has really done since that game has been pretty remarkable. Only losing 4 games since they beat Miami in that one. And so, yeah, that wasn't the best season ever. We went 5-7. Miami wasn't great that year either. They fired their coach, but being there for that comeback was really, really cool. There's more fun stuff that's happened. There's bigger moments, but I'm kind of the same way. That 4th and 14 was fun to be at because once you got down, you were like, oh man, this is over, and they found a way to win. So.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a least favorite moment, one that hurts the most that you've either been at or just seen on TV, whatever the situation is?
Easy, yeah. Last year, there are obviously ones that hurt much more than that probably in the past, but it's the exact same scenario. I was there at Hard Rock to witness that game in person, and I can't remember for sure because I've tried to remove that game from my memory for the most part, so I don't remember all the fine little details, but I remember it was either the very first possession for Florida State offensively or the second one when Jordan Travis came out and just dropped that bomb.
Yeah.
You guys ran it in the end zone. I swear after that, Miami fans didn't say another word. That stadium was silent. Florida State
No.
fans took it over. You guys were doing your little, I'm not going to do it. You guys were doing the little chop thing and doing your little cheer and stuff and took over Hard Rock Stadium. And I sat there for all 4 quarters and just, it was bad. It was
Yeah.
bad. And again, to be there in person, it was just rough. There was no hope. The players quit after that first drive. That was one of the worst for me by
Yeah.
far.
My worst, again, probably because it was in person. Probably the worst that I didn't not in person was 2002. Finally the wide right. I had a playoff game, and so we're listening to it on the radio going home, and to hear Gene say that it was wide right, like that was rough because like as a 12-year-old, you're just like, no, my life is ending. Clearly, it's not over a game, but and then 2017 was tough. You guys finally ended the streak. We weren't good that year. It was Jimbo's last year, but I was in person for that one. And so that was a tough one. You're like, oh, wait, we're actually going to we're not even good. We're still going to beat Miami. We were 0-2 at that point. And then the Langham catch was pretty brutal to just kind of give it up. I think we gave up a 4th down conversion to, I think, Braxton Berrios that,
Good man. Good man.
screwing us. And so, yeah, just not fun to watch that drive as it happened. I was in the end zone that Langham caught it. That was
Yeah.
a tough one. So
It hits different when you're there in person.
oh, it's bad. You got
Definitely.
to walk out of the stadium. You're just like, oh,
Everybody's
man.
hooping and hollering and pointing at you and laughing. It's tough, man. It's
Yeah,
tough.
not fun. So, all right, on this quarterback situation for Miami, a lot of people think a lot of different things. I've never seen a situation where, it's not an even split, but I've never seen a situation where there were different parts of the fan base that wanted 3 different quarterbacks to start a game. I've seen 2, but I've never seen it with people wanting all 3 different guys to have a chance to start. So, what are your thoughts with the direction? What would make you happiest? Outside of Tyler coming out and throwing 5 touchdowns on Saturday. But who
Right.
would you like to see start, and what do you think gives Miami the best chance this weekend?
I'm going to be honest. I want to preface this by saying the quarterback situation at Miami, I feel like, has just been mismanaged from the jump. It's an absolute mess. It's a disaster. We could sit here and talk about this for an entire hour. We could set apart like a full segment for just this. How do you really answer that? You throw Tyler Van Dyke out there, who's still probably kind of beaten and banged up a bit. He's been just absolutely destroyed mentally, and understandably so. Some of the things he's had to go through, 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. He's lost fan support. Then on the other side of this, you have Emory Williams, who's a freshman. Are you going to throw him out there for, only his second start, and it's going to be at Doak Campbell Stadium against a Florida State team that's making a college football playoff run? Yeah, he came in and beat Clemson, but his numbers weren't through the roof. It was nothing special. It was just enough to get it done, right? And then you also have Jakari Brown, who's going to be the dual threat, the mobile guy, but he's not been splitting reps with the first team offense. He's the 3rd quarterback in that rotation. He's not played, for a reason. And I'm not saying he's bad, but this would be his first game this season. Same scenario. You throw him out there against Florida State. So really, I don't think Miami has an answer at quarterback for this game. But what I would personally like to see is some sort of QB hokey pokey, and I hate that. I'm not a fan of it. I hate when you throw a guy out there and let's say maybe he starts to get the hot hand, and then you pull him out, you throw somebody else in there. I just know that if Tyler Van Dyke goes out there, there are going to be 2 or 3 or more interceptions thrown in this game. Period. I mean, he's thrown 10 interceptions in his last 4 games. He's not there. I think the reality is Mario probably marches him out there. I think the QB talk is kind of smoke and mirrors. Mario's kind of pulling this. We're not going to confirm who the quarterback is, and that's kind of how he operates. It's how he does things. I personally think he marches Tyler Van Dyke out there, probably with a short leash. If he throws a pick, he probably throws Emery out there. They just go ahead and burn the red shirt. I think the best case scenario is you just go ahead and ride it out and you burn the red shirt, you play Emory Williams, and you mix in some packages specifically for Jakari Brown, who's going to be the mobile guy. Kind of do what NC State did to us. They brought in Brendan Armstrong
Yeah.
and they ran with him. And I think maybe you hit Florida State with a little, hey, couple of downs, you throw Jakari in there, he runs the ball. This is the obvious running quarterback, and then you send one over the top when we need a spark or something, maybe. But all in all, the quarterback situation is no bueno. I don't really have a good answer for it.
Yeah. And you'd hope that, like, as a Canes fan, like, they can be in some kind of a rhythm. And that's what's tough about shuffling around and having that continuity. Miami's got a good offensive line, though, and a good running game. You know, I guess the big issue becomes if the quarterback can't be effective, it's so easy to just key on the running game, you know? And so that's really where Miami, it seems like, has struggled, and their offense has been kind of vanilla. But you got to think the offense will be better. I know that Doak's probably a tougher place to play than Carter Finley, but I'd be pretty surprised if Miami didn't score more than 6 this weekend, right? I mean, like, that's not a deep shot, but, like, the offense has got to be better than last week.
And the thing with this team that you're going to see when compared to last season is this team's not going to quit. You know, I mentioned that last year, as soon as JT threw that one bomb, that touchdown, that Miami team, you could read the body language on the sideline. They were done, checked out. It was over at that point. This team's going to fight all 4 quarters in this one. Again, they were hyped up as well at the beginning of the season, and they don't want to go to Doak and just be completely blown out and embarrassed. Sure. And I do have Miami scoring some points, which I'm sure you'll probably bring that up and talk about it here at some point, so I can share some numbers with how I think the game is going to go. But man, it's tough again for us to be hyped up and excited and going into this game. It's just there's not a whole lot of positives. There's not. It's tough. And I want to sit here and engage with trash talk with you. But when my best comeback is, well, you know, there's no guarantees in life or college football, so anything could happen. When that's my best comeback, what am I going to do, right? You know, I'm trying over here. Come on, Canes fans. I'm trying for you.
A bright spot has been Miami's defense. That said, I don't know if they've seen an offense that has the capabilities of Florida State's when it's at full strength. That, you know, UNC game wasn't great for Miami's defense. Made plays at times, but Miami's defensive lineman, there's some young guy. Ruben Bain's done a phenomenal job, obviously, getting a ton of national attention. Got some real talent there in the secondary. There's some questions at corner with health and stuff, but I mean, Miami's defense has got to come play its best game of the year, you know, I would think, to get out with a win or to even make this a game into the fourth quarter. Thoughts around what Miami's defense might be able to do this weekend, and maybe like I don't know, if Miami's in the game in the fourth quarter, what do they have to hold Florida State's offense down to give them a realistic chance to be in it in the fourth?
Here's going to be the problem in this game, and it's what has hurt Miami in multiple games this season. The defense is something that we can lean on. We can rely on those guys. The problem is they're on the field too much. So you bring up the fourth quarter. A lot of teams have won the time of possession battle with us. You know, our offense tends to come out 3 and out, interception that puts the defense in kind of a bad position. The defense will play well, but it's probably going to be for 2 or 3 quarters, and then they're going to be tired in the fourth, which is understandable. So it really sucks. It's why Miami fans are so frustrated, is because, you know, going back to your previous question, we feel like we finally have a good offensive line. We have a solid run game. We can bully you in the trenches, but our passing attack is just not there. So again, putting the defense in bad positions, they're on the field a lot. It's tough to play 4 quarters when you're out there as much as our defense is. And we see the flashes, right? Cam Kinchins is playing pretty well, a couple interceptions. Our D-line, even though they're battling some injuries, we have some really good young guys. You mentioned, you know, Ruben Bain, Leonard Taylor. We're pretty happy with our edge rushers. And I think that they will create some problems for Florida State. But mostly early. That's the issue, mostly early in the first half of the game. I do actually think that Miami can hang with Florida State probably one of those scenarios where you go into halftime and it's like, wait a minute, maybe this could be
Sure.
something. I just don't know that Miami on either side of the ball can maintain that for 4 quarters. And it's unfortunate, man, that we're always missing like one or two key things, right? We finally have the O-line, but now quarterback play is lackluster. Defense is playing pretty well. Offense putting them in bad positions. We just can't seem to have it all, man.
Put it all together at
That's
one
the
time.
tough part. Exactly.
Florida State really likes their depth, and something that, a lot of that Duke game, I don't know if you caught it, the Riley Leonard, injury or going out, it gets a lot of attention, but Florida State is very comfortable, and they've done it multiple times this year where they've gone into halftime trailing, and then they've just said our depth is going to win out. Like, Florida State's one of the older teams in college football. They've got a lot of guys that have taken a lot of snaps. I think the Florida State offensive line has taken more snaps than any other offensive line, like, since they've been recording that stat, like their top, 8 or 9 guys. And so they're very deep. And so what about Miami's? And so that probably leads to some of that thought of, like, can we hang around the second half? What about Miami's depth? Like, their top line on a lot of positions is really good, but how deep are they truly?
Unfortunately, Miami kind of finds themselves in a position at this point in the season where a lot of guys are playing kind of banged up, and that's the case all across college football. Sure. I get it. But the issue that we're having is some of those guys that are 2 and 3 in that rotation are young guys. They haven't gained a whole lot of extra experience this season. So I'm not feeling super good about that. There are a few position groups where I'm pretty happy with it. Running back is not bad, but it brings up exactly what I just said. We have deep in that rotation, you're going to have guys like Chris Johnson and Trevante Citizen. They've seen very limited snaps this season. So if this were obviously it didn't go the way we thought it would, but a Virginia game going in where we felt like we were going to dominate them, or it's a lesser opponent, maybe that's not as big of a deal. But again, you don't take a guy who's probably seen 3 or 4 snaps this season, Chris Johnson, if A.J. Allen can't come in or Chaney can't come in at running back, you just can't toss that guy in at Doak Campbell Stadium against Florida State. It's just asking to kill his confidence, and it would just be kind of a bad move, right? So Miami is okay at a few positions, but overall, I hate being negative about Miami in this whole video on a Florida State channel, but we're not nearly as comfortable in the depth department across the board as you guys are. We're just not.
I don't have to troll you. I just kind of ask you about the team, and you can kind of just troll yourself. So it's a little easier that way.
I'm trying to come up with something. Like, I'm reaching deep down here.
Man, I know you've got a pretty good Florida State following, and so we'll talk about maybe some score predictions and how the game's gonna go down. But I do want to hear this. I love your content. And a lot of people don't get your content. A lot of
Right.
like what I've learned in doing this just a short time. I know you've been doing it a while. Like, YouTube crowd is not necessarily the Twitter crowd, is not necessarily the Instagram crowd. They're just different crowds. And so I'm giving away all the secrets here. No, not really. But people that create content start to learn that and start to learn, okay, well, here's what I do on this app. Here's what I do here. And so Twitter doesn't always get your stuff. You get a lot of hate for just goofy stuff that you do on YouTube.
Yep.
But I watch a lot of your stuff. I watch your live streams when you're playing the games in the off season. I watch your funny stuff. I watch your raps. I really enjoy it. So just talk to me a little bit about how you got into this and like how you've seen it evolve. Your passion for it, and you've stuck with it through some rough times too. So hats off to you. It started in 2020 though, so we were 3 and 6. So I guess I did too. Talk to me about your channel and passion for it, how it started, and all that.
Yeah, man, I'll keep it brief, but I do love talking about this. I started this channel in 2017-ish, so I've been doing this for about 7 years now. And it took a while to figure out, exactly how I wanted to approach this thing and what I wanted it to be. But growing up, I always had a camera in my hand. And I'm talking, I'm showing my age a little bit, but I'm talking the big one you had to put on your shoulder, and you literally load the VHS tape in it. It weighs like 20 pounds, and you're carrying it around. And I always made like home videos, and I would write skits for my brother and my mom and my dad, and I would make movies and all that stuff. Like, I loved the camera and writing and all that. But growing up, I was the shy kid in school. I was the nerdy, geeky kid. I didn't talk a lot. If you had to come up in front of the class and speak, I would take an F. And keep in mind, I was a straight A student. I would say, just give me a 0. I don't care. I'm not going to speak in front of anyone.
Yeah.
And what happened is my very first college football game I ever watched was the 2001 National Championship game. I watched that Miami team on the TV. I said, wow, I want to be cool like those guys. My mom orders me a Miami Hurricane shirt. I walk into school. I'm talking the Conor McGregor walk, right? I walk in. I got that big U across my chest. I feel like I'm the coolest kid in school. So then fast forward to me being an adult. I don't like my job. I'm working a factory job. And I'm like, you know what? It kind of sucks. I'm watching these Miami Hurricanes games in Tennessee, and I have no one to watch them with. You know, all these watch parties people go to, and they hang out with buddies. It's Tennessee fans here, Alabama fans, Georgia fans. I mean, you know, no fun. So I was like, what if I created a channel and I could talk Miami Hurricanes football with people from all around the world? You know, people who also like this team that I like.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just blew up from there. And then what happened is I love to entertain, and that's where the diss tracks and the raps and stuff come in. I start all of my preview videos with over-the-top silly skits. And as you said, the Twitter crowd doesn't get it. Coop is not cool enough to be a Canes fan. Coop's not gangster enough. I don't care. I'm here to have fun. I like to entertain. I like to make people laugh. And then after that, we talk football. We do talk ball. But I love the community that I've built. I always say we're all one big happy college football family. Yes, we trash talk. Yes, we banter back and forth. But at the end of the day, we all just love football, you know? So I just like to have a good time on my channel, and that's just the way that I approach it. Nobody that trolls me or doesn't like me is going to affect me, because I've not met half these people in person before. It's Twitter trolls. It's keyboard warriors. So, you know, we're just having fun. Straight up. That's the best way to put it. Having fun.
Yeah, no, well, I really do enjoy your stuff. I was tuned in for the end of the Georgia Tech thing. Like I've laughed when you've laughed. I've cried, or I've laughed when you cried too. But Still, is that a new one?
Yeah, this is the trolls. This is anytime they start typing, whenever they jump in the chat,
you get them out.
Right? You do this and you just imitate them. That's them, just 100 miles per hour, man, as fast as they can possibly type. They're literally foaming at the mouth.
So let's wrap up with this. How's this game playing out? How's this game playing out for Coach Coop in your eyes? What's our score prediction? What goes down? How's this all happening on Saturday afternoon, evening?
As I said, this Miami Hurricanes team will not quit. It will look different than it did last year by at least a little bit. I've said that maybe the game plan should be that Miami should just fight for field goal range and just let Andy kick it over and over again and just chip away at Florida State, because, man, that red zone offense for Miami has been pitiful. The biggest thing is I don't expect just everything to magically come together on Saturday just because it's the Florida State game. We already talked about it, but Miami's going to have to be creative when it comes to the play calling. We're going to have to throw some new stuff out there, maybe that Florida State hasn't seen. But I do have it as an L for Miami. I don't sugarcoat things on my channel. I actually, when I do predictions, fandom and emotions get set to the side. And I understand that some people aren't able to do that, and that's okay, right? Like, be a fan. There's nothing wrong with that. But I try to be real with my predictions. That's, if I'm being honest, that's probably like 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. I do think Miami can find the end zone at some point, but I don't necessarily believe it's the brutal beatdown that Florida State fans believe that it's going to be. And maybe I'm wrong. Florida State is a good football team. I've been honest with, fellow Miami fans and said I do think that Florida State is legit this year, as much as it pains me to say that. It's just the reality of the situation. But I've got 38-16. I'm hoping and praying that I'm wrong. Maybe a Christmas miracle happens in November and Miami can pull something out of their booty and make something happen.
I don't hate the score prediction, though. Like, I don't think that's too far off. And it wouldn't shock me if it was even closer, 31-16 or something,
Yeah, they have you guys as what, like 14.5 point favorites,
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't be
think.
shocked if it's somewhere around there. And like I said, I don't think Miami will quit either. I think, that you're spot on there. I do think that um, if the opportunity presents itself, Florida State or Miami, whoever was in the situation will run it up. Like I think if the
Oh, yeah.
opportunity to pile on, like last week, Florida State kind of took some knees down inside the 5. Ain't taking no knees inside the 5. Like they'll go score against Miami. So like score could be close and then kind of deceiving late. Let me ask you about this, and then I'll really let you go. One more.
Yeah, you're good.
I know this year has been underwhelming, and like you said, it feels like you're just one piece away, but you're still fully on the Mario train and still feel like he's kind of inching it closer towards the right direction or has it pointed in the right direction. Like what are do you still have concerns though, or like just overall thoughts on Mario, pros, cons, and then I'll let you out.
I mean, there's definitely some concerns. I know that, a lot of people are upset with his game management and time management skills. We've kind of made the joke on my channel that Mario needs to hire a time management coordinator, someone on the sideline that literally just, watches the play clock, the game clock, tells him when and when not to call timeouts. It's been rough in that department. I'm not going to lie. Overall, for me personally, I went into this season with tempered expectations because, we went 5-7 last year, but we did just hire a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator again, literally in year 2. So essentially, to an extent, we almost hit the reset button again, year 2. And I know that a lot of people want to argue, yeah, but we need to see immediate results. You have to win in 2023. There's the transfer portal, there's NIL, there's all these ways that you can fix a team quickly, but we can't really compare ourselves to a lot of these other programs. I feel like it's apples to oranges. We are playing catch up in more ways than one when it comes to things like facilities, when it comes to consistent top 10, top 15 recruiting classes, trying to stack that talent again here at Miami. We have a lot of things that we have to overcome. And I feel like that we have taken a small step forward this season, which is what I kind of expected. I'll come out and say my full season prediction was 7-5 this year. I wasn't saying I was happy or content with that because, that the end goal is a national championship. But if we do win 7 or 8, which is not looking quite as likely with the games that we have coming up here to wrap up the season, but that would be a small step forward. Purely talking wins and losses here, right? But we are seeing Miami try to build up the trenches a bit. And we already talked about it. The run game has improved. And it does feel like maybe, I'm just going to be real, if we had an absolute baller, I'm talking a dog at the quarterback position, this is definitely probably an 8 or a 9 win team this year.
Yeah.
So Miami's missing a few, I think, as you said, some key pieces and whatnot. And I'm still on the Mario train right now. He wasn't my first choice when it came to hiring a new coach, actually, for Miami. But I believe that right now, you got to give the man time, as painful as that is. A lot of fans are putting 20 years of letdown and expectations on his shoulders. And it's only year 2. People that want him fired, I'm sorry, that's just silly talk. That's kind of partially why we are where we are, because it's just the same cycle, rinse and repeat. 2 years, 3 years, fire, reset. Got to give it a little bit of time. The T word is a dirty word for Canes fans, myself included. I'm impatient. I want to win right now too. But give him a little more time. Let's get in a couple more recruiting classes. Let's get a dog or a baller at the quarterback position, either one of those guys that's on the squad now, transfer portal, another guy coming in the recruiting class, whatever we got to do. Let it play out, get a couple more years under this offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and see where it goes. No, I'm not off the Mario train yet. He definitely needs to improve a lot of things, though, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, patience is not something that a lot of people have. You mentioned the 2 or 3 years. I mean, Florida fans are doing the same thing right now with Napier, so it's not like it's uncommon in college football. But you're right. Like if obviously a lot of his development is due to Mike Norvell, but if Jordan Travis is on this Miami team this year, I mean, they're 8-1 or 9-0.
I agree.
There's no doubt about it.
100%. Yes.
Maybe they lose a shootout to North Carolina. It is the only one that I would say, but they're beating Georgia Tech and NC State. Mm-hmm. So Anyway, Coach Coop, where can most of my fans know who you are and know where to find you? But where can folks find you, man?
Oh yeah, man. Just go to YouTube and type in Coop or Coach Coop. You'll probably see a thumbnail of me sitting in a trash can or smashing something or, doing something silly over the top. That's just another day over on the Coach Coop YouTube channel. But just type that in, you'll find me. As I already said, we just like to have a good time. And yes, I welcome Florida State fans and the trash talk. You can jump in, you can run your mouth. We'll go back and forth. It's all in good fun. So come on, come join the college football family. We'll welcome you.
Good stuff, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out today.
Hey, thank you, man. Now we gotta give them one of these,
I'll
right?
give you one of
To
the
close
good
it
luck
out.
this weekend. Not too much.